Hello everyone, this is Fine from Awesome Tech Gaming Pro. I hope you all are well. Today I'm going to talk about the newly released TCL QM8K. The TCL's 2025 SRS gaming series of TVs is the new TCL QM8K, since the company announced earlier this year that they would be rolling out their TVs in phases. I've been quietly waiting for the TCL QM8K. Currently, the 65-inch price is $2,200 US, 75-inch TCL QM8K, $3,200 US, 85-inch, $3,800 US, and the 98-inch TCL QM8K, $6,500 US. If you are new in my channel, then please subscribe and press the bell icon for future notifications and upcoming videos. I have another channel named Tech Gaming Villa, where I upload similar kind of tech videos like TV comparison, sound system, home theater. You can check and subscribe. If you are wondering about the 115-inch version from last year, that panel is still in TCL's lineup, but it's technically a carryover. TCL has confirmed that while it falls under the QM8 name, it uses a different processing and separate beaming system. So while it's a QM8 in name, it's different enough from your standard QM8 series. This TV also known as TCL QM8C. Like other TVs in TCL's precise dimming lineup, the QM8K uses a QD mini LED backlight system. The difference between this TV and the other models is the QM8K is the first TV to use a crystal glow WHVA panel. HV or clog-sync vertical alignment improves native contrast by blocking board light in low brightness scenes. TCL has also made some adjustments to its quantum dot implementation this year, with slightly better DCI-P3 coverage and improved control over local dimming. One of the bigger upgrades over last year's model is TCL's new super high energy LED chip. The company claims it improves brightness and efficiency compared to the previous generation. A new condensed micro lens helps spread light more evenly, while micro OD tech reduces the gap between the backlight and diffuser. That's meant to minimize blooming and improve contrast. All of this comes together in what TCL now calls its halo control system. It's a mix of upgraded light source, lens design, and backlight processing that's supposed to improve grayscale handling, color accuracy, and reduce haloing around bright objects. TCL also added zero delay transient response, which reduces the lag between incoming signals and backlight adjustments. The goal here is to eliminate ghosting in fast motion. The backlight controller itself has been updated to a bidirectional 23-bit system, which TCL says allows for finer brightness control with up to 65,000 levels. And like the QM6K and QM7K, the QM8K inputs TCL's dynamic light algorithm, which converts HDR content into an HDR-like image. I liked how it worked on the other models, so I was glad to see it featured here as well. One of the biggest differences you'll notice compared to last year's model is the way the QM8K looks. If you have been following TCL's design over the past few years, you will know they have been gradually shrinking the panel borders with each generation. This year, the bezel is slimmer than ever, coming in at just 3.2 mm, what TCL calls zero border. The frame is made from a one-piece aerospace grade aluminum alloy and finished with an anodized ceramic film, which should help with durability. There have been some reports of people having shipping damage on the QM851G, so hopefully this new design will eliminate that. The frame brushed gunmetal bezel along the top and sides with a horizontal strip at the bottom that houses the TCL status LEDs. There's also a power button tucked under the front panel. The skin has a slightly glossy finish with an anti-reflective coating that does a good job of cutting down there. And like the other models in this year's lineup, the premium QD mini LED badge has been moved to the back of the panel in the upper right corner. The TV comes with a two-part wedge-shaped stand that's easy to set up and holds the panel securely. The stand height can be adjusted to make room for a soundbar. On the 98-inch, TCL switches to a fixed-based stand instead of the pedestal to support the extra weight. In the lower position, the stand gives you about 2.3 inches of clearance. In the raised setting, it's closer to 3.6 inches, which should be enough for most soundbars. The panel itself is fairly thick at 2.3 inches, but it has a clean, minimalist look from the front. Around the back, there are 4 HDMI ports. HDMI 1 and 2 support 4K at 144 Hz and 1080p at up to 288 Hz on the 65-inch and larger sizes. HDMI 3 and 4 support 4K 60 Hz. HDMI 4 also includes ear, so you can connect your soundbar or AVR and still leave the high bandwidth ports free for gaming. The QM8K supports all the major HDR formats, including Dolby Vision IQ, HDR10+, HDR10, HLG, and IMAX Enhanced. Wireless connectivity includes Wi-Fi 6 and Bluetooth 5.3. You will also find a USB 3.0 port, USB 2.0 port, Ethernet optical audio out, and the next-gen built-in ATSC 3.0 tuner. TCL also made a change to the audio system this year instead of the on-cue setup used in last year's model. The TCL QM8K now uses an audio system designed by Bang and Olufsen. Clocked at most DTS X and DTS Virtual S are all supported. TCL has redesigned the remote this year and it's very similar to the one included with the lower-end models. It now has a more squared off shape compared to last year's version. It's slightly larger, but it still fits comfortably in the hand without feeling bulky. The biggest difference between the models is the color, which now has a brushed metal silver finish that gives it a more premium feel. The main controls such as the home and settings buttons are centered in the middle. Just below that are the app shortcuts, giving you quick access to Netflix, Prime Video, and YouTube as well as TCL TV button sitting right above. What is interesting here is that it only comes with one row of shortcut buttons instead of the 2 rows found on the QM7K remote. At the top of the remote, you will find a microphone button for voice commands along with an input button and a directional pad. The remote is also backlit, which is always a welcome feature, especially since many remotes in this price range do not include it. Just like last year, the TCL QM8K runs on Google TV 12. The home screen is centered around the top picks for you section with suggestions curated by Google and quick access to popular apps like Prime Video, Apple TV, Hulu, and Netflix. It also pulls content from across your streaming services into one place, so you don't have to jump between different apps to find something to watch. The interface has been slightly updated this year. There is now a quick menu section that lets you access different settings without going all the way into the main menus. If you open the search tab, you will notice that Google has added a row of content categories that you can click on to quickly browse by genre or type. Since this is a Google TV platform, you get access to the Play Store for downloading additional apps and games. The TCL QM8K also supports Alexa and Apple HomeKit, so you can use voice commands or control the TV through supported smart home systems. Built-in Chromecast and AirPlay 2 let you cast or mirror content from your phone, tablet, or computer. As for the interface itself, it feels smooth and responsive. Menu navigation is quick, and overall, it's one of the better Google TV experiences I have had recently. If you see the TCL QM8K performance, it delivers a strong performance right out of the box. When I tested the TCL QM851G last year, it leaned noticeably red. It turns out I wasn't alone since several other reviewers mentioned the same issue. TCL seems to have addressed that with the new model. You get 6 picture modes in both HDR and HDR movie filmmaker mode, intelligent, vivid, sports, and standard. Filmmaker mode is new this year and is easily the most accurate option without any adjustments. In that mode, most color errors were already below the visible threshold. I did find that setting the black level to 48 improved contrast without crushing shadow detail. The default gamma is set to 2.2, which works fine for bright rooms. But if you are watching in a dim or controlled lighting environment, switching to 2.4 gives better results with deeper blacks and improved contrast. For Dolby Vision, there are 3 modes available: light, dark, and IQ. I found the light setting to be the best overall. There is also a feature called precision detail, which adds texture and fine detail to the image. It is similar to the Sony's Reality Creation, but only works with Dolby Vision content. I like the added clarity it brought to some scenes, though your experience may vary. The first thing you notice when powering on the QM8K is just how bright it can get. After letting a full black screen run for a few minutes, which TCL engineers recommended, I measured 4519 nits on a 5% window. I took this measurement in vivid mode, which is the brightest preset available. In filmmaker mode, which is much more balanced, I measured 2752 nits in HDR on a 10% window. That is still really bright for real-world viewing and more than enough to give HDR content the impact it needs. This level of brightness translates well to actual content. In real-world conditions, the TCL QM8K gets bright enough to give HDR scenes the punch they did. When it comes to HDR tone mapping, the TCL QM8K tracks EOTF well. Grayscale performance is even and color accuracy is solid. Midtones are slightly bright, but it is still a big improvement over the out-of-the-box performance I saw with the QM851G last year. There is also an HDR effect mode that maps HDR content into a more contrast-rich presentation. The differences were not dramatic, but there was some added depth in the image. Midtones darkened slightly. If you want to push the effect further, you can increase the dynamic contrast setting. It is not a replacement for true HDR, but it works well for casual viewing and is a feature worth experimenting with. When it comes to color reproduction, the TCL QM8K delivers good results in both HDR and HDR content. To put some numbers to it, I measured the AIPQ coverage at 93.6% for Recon 2020, the panel heat 76.3%, which is pretty respectable for a mini LED TV. Black levels are one of the areas that stood out on the TCL QM8K. I didn't see any noticeable zooming in the black bars. While watching movies, the only time I could detect zooming was when sitting about 40 degrees off axis, and even then it was minimal. On the Vegas HDR torture test video on YouTube, the QD mini LED backlighting helped up very well. No matter how hard I tried to find booming, it was kept in check. I measured native contrast at 7415:1, which is good result for a mini LED panel using an HBA-type display. When sitting directly in front of the screen, haloing was nearly impossible to spot. I was already impressed with the TCL QM6K and TCL QM7K that I tested previously, and the TCL QM8K holds up just as well. Color and brightness only start to shift sharply past the 35-degree off-axis mark, which is pretty good for these types of panel. One area that caught me off guard was upscaling. I wasn't expecting much improvement over last year, but I did notice some gains. This is subjective since I don't have the TCL QM851G here for a direct comparison, but upscaling looks better overall. Even though the QM8K uses the same AIPQ Pro processor as the TCL QM851G, which since TCL made some changes, even 720p broadcast look good, especially for lower resolution content. I would recommend keeping the sharpness setting no higher than 17. Anything above that, and I started seeing some minor ringing around the edges. Motor learning on the TCL QM8K is also solid. The blur and judder reduction settings help smooth out lower frame rate content, particularly when watching compressed streams or older content. Pushing these settings too high will bring in the soap opera effect. I found that keeping both settings around 3 gave a good balance. You can raise them to 6 or 7 or smoother motion, but it starts to introduce a little too much SOE for my liking. I did see some slight stuttering during fast camera pans while watching the NBA finals, but nothing that stood out as overly distracting. Let's talk about gaming. TCL QM8K offers a smooth and responsive experience thanks to its native 144Hz panel. It supports variable refresh rate, auto low latency mode, and AMD FreeSync Premium Pro. Input lag in game mode measured at 12.6 milliseconds at 4K 60Hz. While it is not the lowest I have tested recently, it's still low enough that it won't distract from gameplay. If you see the audio performance of TCL QM8K, which new Bang or Olufsen speakers deliver noticeably better sound than what I have heard from TCL's previous models. I found myself using the film preset for most of my testing as it offered a good balance. Bass had decent weight, the mids sounded clean, and the highs were detailed enough to keep dialogue and effects clear without harshness. There's also a Biosonic setting that lets you create a custom audio profile by adjusting sound along 2 axes. ranging from warm to clear and from relaxed to energetic. It is nice to touch you do not usually find in built-in TV speakers. The audio is solid for a built-in system, but a dedicated setup like soundbar or separate speakers will still deliver a better overall experience. So finally, and to say TCL continues to refine its approach to premium performance at a more accessible price point, and the TCL QM8K is another step forward. It brings great HDR performance, deep black levels, along with improved local dimming compared to last year's model. The TCL QM8K delivers a complete experience from performance to features and bigger screen sizes. I said this last year, and it's even more true now. The TCL QM8K is the best TCL TV I tested so far, and one to watch out for, especially if you are looking for a bigger screen without jumping into flagship pricing territory. So what's your thought about this newly released TCL QM8K? Please write in the comments below. That's it from now.